Hi, Irina. Thank you so much for taking out the time for this. I'm really happy that we're finally getting to chat.
Hi, Usman. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so I've been following you for a long, long time now. I'm not sure if you know this, but ever since you were, at hunter.io as the head of marketing and you were doing all of this SEO stuff and a lot of other things, I've been following you on LinkedIn. And then I actually got to know about Hunter through many Ahrefs videos, right? Because they used to talk about outreach and other kind of things. And that led me towards you because you were in charge of their marketing at the time. And I've always been fascinated with the kind of work that you've done, especially in link building and now with, Aura and Hunter.io in terms of content strategy and everything from a SEO and marketing standpoint. So I have, you already know this, I have like a bucket of things that I want to discuss around content, link building, technical SEO. So I would like to just get started if that sounds good to you.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of topics to discuss with you.
For sure. Okay, then. So let's start with your experience in building a team. So you've worked at Hunter.io and also at Aura, right? You've gotten the chance to build a team ground up in the form of, you mentioned that you have a small in-house team, but then you've worked with a lot of freelancers, external contractors, those kind of folks. Now, especially with companies that are early stage or like even if they have a big brand and they're trying to get into SEO and trying to grow big, building a team is mostly the foundation of almost everything that they do later on. If a company consults with you, right? Just imagine this. A company comes to you and say, we want to set up a team that would help us achieve big things in SEO, organic search growth. How would you advise them? What are the things that they should be careful about? How they should be thinking of their first role to hire for? What should be the team structure?
Yeah, thanks for the question. That's definitely a good start to this conversation about SEO and marketing and team management. So regarding Hunter, at Hunter, when I worked there, I was the first marketing hire. I was a head of marketing, and I had to start from there. Hunter's founders, they are very technical guys. They are both developers. They started Hunter together, so they built everything from the ground up. And at some point, they felt that they need a person who will help them growing the company in terms of marketing, in terms of SEO. So here is how I appeared. When I was working for a company, I think I was the employee number 10, but still I've been there with Hunter for almost 3 years. And I believe when I left, the company was around 12, 13 employees, like not a lot. We are not growing in terms of in-house people who are working with us because the main point and the key idea of Anton and Francois was to always keep team small and lean, like very flexible, like like a small family. But at the same time, you cannot grow fast if you are like alone in a marketing team. At this point, they've been discussing it with Hunter's founders that yeah, we need people because there is someone needed to write the content for the blog. There are people who needed to do link building. There are people who need to do design visuals for a blog, etc., etc., etc. And at that point, we decided that the best decision would be to hire the best people, but they could be contractors, they could be freelancers. They are absolutely fine with that. But we really wanted to hire, the best people out there because we didn't want to hire juniors, someone with no experience, teach those people, and we also wanted someone who are in the same mood and with the same values, etc. So let's say the illustrator who created a brand concept for our blog, for our illustration, etc., was the person who worked with Nike. He worked like with YouTube. So a person who really did a lot of cool stuff in the past. and we wanted to have this person. So returning back to your question, on how would I recommend, what kind of qualities, what kind of skills I would recommend a person uh, who hires a new team, I would say hire the best. Uh, of course, like if you have budget for that, because usually the best people are kind of expensive, but it could be the best person in terms of your budget. It doesn't mean it the person needs to have like YouTube, Spotify, all these brands in the portfolio, but it should be the best person for you at this point of time, for this stage of your company. Also, like my second advice would be hire when it hurts. So that was the main like concept of Hunter, and the reason why the company was very profitable, but at the same time the team was very small, because we only hired these contractors, freelancers, and in-house team members when we really were not able to do anything without this person. So that is the second thing, because it's usually I worked for the companies who hired people because they raised some investment, they had money to spend, blah blah blah. Then the person arrives, and it doesn't have like work to do. It happens, or it does some. The person does like some work that doesn't really need to be done. So my main concept is like to only to hire when you need someone. And in terms of qualities, I would say I always hire people who love to learn, because when you are in marketing or in SEO, it's changing like every day. Like you read like the newsletter I receive like from Search Engine Journal like on a daily basis, and you read like new updates like on Google, this happened, that happened. So it's very important for the person to learn on a like regular basis, and in general to be like a cultural fit with the team. Because in the past I had I did hiring mistakes. Let's say I hired a person because it was like really great professional, but in terms of cultural fit, it was a failed. We weren't able to work like together, since it was kind of difficult to understand each other. So I'd say are my kind of general recommendations for hiring.
Yeah. And do you think some companies just overhire? Like they actually don't have such a need. Maybe like for most of the companies, hiring external contractors or freelancers would be enough, but they still, because of this, solid belief that they have that hiring in-house team is always the best option to go with, they just overhire the people, and like most of the time, as you mentioned, sometimes they don't have enough work to do.
It obviously depends on the company, on the goals. It could be a young company with a decent budget and a big goals, and only let's say 50 people do that. That's no problem. You will need to find 50 people to do this project. But like let's say comparing Aura size to Hunter size is a completely two different companies. Hunter was very small, like around 10. Aura is more than 600. So it this is a different scope of work, like different product, like more people needed to make the job done. Both approaches are fine, but like they work for different companies and the goals of this company.
And do you, like in your experience, since you've worked with both in-house team members, as you mentioned at Aura, you have this big team, and then at Hunter, it was a small company, and if I'm not wrong, the company wanted to keep it small. Would you say, because I feel like when I speak to some of the founders, they have this hesitancy of working with contractors, freelancers, even if they actually know that that would be the right route. Just they just have this feeling that in-house employees would always be the best option. What do you think about this?
I find no problems working like with the freelancers, because Working with the freelancers and the contractors allows you to attract sometimes a person who will never accept a job offer being a full-time employee. Let's say when it comes to writers in a cybersecurity niche, it's very difficult to find like professional writers who know everything about cybersecurity, who have great writing skills, great industry experience, etc. So this type of people who have a lot of experience, they usually do kind of freelance job, or like they have their like small companies and they can onboard you as a client. And that works for us because we receive at the end, we receive a work of great quality from a specialist who knows everything about the topic. At the same time, it can happen if you're working with a difficult niche and you find a person. That person can have like a writer, great writing skills, but you need to teach this person a lot about your niche, about your product, about the market, etc., etc. So like I'd say it really depends. But when you work with professionals, I don't see any problems like working with the freelancers, have good recommendations, when you can check their previous examples of work. That's absolutely fine. And sometimes it happens that you need like some kind of project work. Let's say we had a like recently project at Aura that we needed to speed up to increase the speed of our blog. So we found a person, and our blog, our website, it runs on Webflow. And for that project, it was logical to find a person, a Webflow developer, whose specialization is website speed. So we found this person, and this person helped us to fix this problem just like in a couple of weeks. So it doesn't make sense, we can work with our own developers, but probably this person can know more at this point of time about this topic.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that is the exact same experience that I have, in fact, working at the agency of mine. We have sometimes very specific kind of problems which we know that only a specialist can solve. So in that particular scenario, of course, working with freelancers is the best option, like considering everything. So yeah, that makes total sense. I would love to move the conversation around content strategy and content marketing in general. Um, so when you started working at Hunter, or even if in the case of Aura, right, you have this big company, but still from an SEO perspective, they were just kicking things off, if I'm not wrong. So going back to your early days at Hunter or Aura, right, when these websites were not generating hundreds of thousands of search traffic, how would you go about building a content strategy for them? Um, what did you do at that point? How did you plan things? Like, do you have a specific approach or a process that not only helps drive traffic, but also make sure that you're outranking the big bulls of the market, the juggernauts of your industry, especially for an industry like Aura, where I think you're competing with some really big companies, right?
Yes, that's correct. The competition is tough in both industries, in cybersecurity and also in the mail marketing. When we speak about Hunter, we need to compete with all people who cover email marketing related topics, even though we are not direct competitors. But let's say, these names, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, these guys invest millions in their marketing and SEO activities. Being a small company, it's kind of, tough. Same in cybersecurity in Aura. um, I would say it's relatively new product on the market, like compared to like McAfee, Kaspersky, and these other big brands who've been like on the market for 20 plus years building this authority. Uh, I'm lucky that when I started working for both companies, websites were well established, so like they already exist. In terms of technical SEO performance, they were very well because in Hunter, as I mentioned, the founders were both developers, so there were no technical SEO issues. So it was a good start because when you start working on a blog or ranking the product pages, the first thing is the background. If website is not loading, it's very slow, if there are many errors, you first need to deal with that. So in both cases, it was a perfect scenario, to start working on SEO. So regarding the content strategy, usually my first step is to understand customers' problems. It's a very basic thing that every single marketer knows, but for some reason many companies think like that, and they thought, oh, let's write on this, let's write on that. This has like a huge search volume. Let's beat competitors, low keyword difficulty. But in fact, you need to do some boring stuff. You need to listen a lot. You need to speak a lot. You need to understand the niche and understand the problem. It's boring because I'm saying it's boring because you need to do it like for a very lengthy period of time. But still, it's also interesting because you learn a lot on your way. Let's say when we speak about Hunter, for me it was easier to understand the target audience because I was the part of the target audience. I just needed to connect with fellow marketers, like salespeople, to have chat like
Right,
with
right.
you. That was not tough. That was cool,
Mm,
And I was also a part of the audience myself. I was sharing all this like feedback on the product because I was using it. That one like part of the um, building strategy. But then I moved to a cybersecurity. It's completely different. I never worked for anything related to cybersecurity. I've been working for the last 5 years in the MarTech. So as a marketer, I understand this audience pretty well. But in cybersecurity, you need kind of to learn your audience and their needs from scratch. And a great thing the team was already doing when I joined Aura, they subscribed to Gong and they started to listen to what customers speak about with like the customer support, and the SEO team was listening to these calls to understand what kind of problems and what kind of questions customers ask. And based on that, we started building a keyword list. So it wasn't just, like the first step, go to Ahrefs, second, write an article. No, it was like uh, listen to these calls, then make your notes, and then connect the problems with the keywords that are available on Ahrefs, like or whatever keyword tool you use. We are using Ahrefs. So that's the first part, and then just start writing content. Like in my experience, the more consistently you do it, the more topics you cover, the faster you will grow. In our case, it was around like more or less every month, 20 pieces of content. So every single day we publish something that that helps customers to solve their problems. That we listened on the sales calls. It's like a content strategy, how we build it in general.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just going to ask you next about, how do you make sure that the content you create or the content strategy in general is very customer centric, but now it looks like it's very evident, right? Like listening to customer support calls and
Yeah.
gathering insights from them and then heading into keyword research. This is also a principle that I talk a lot about, which is, I think, one of the foundational problems that many SEOs have these days is that they learn about, like, they say, I have this one project to work on. Let's directly jump into Ahrefs, get a couple of keywords, and start writing the content. When in reality, there's this big, massive step before keyword research, which is the customer research, right? Like just identifying who am I targeting and how do we target them? How do we speak their language? That makes a lot of sense. So one of the most commonly used concepts in SEO is, topical authority. And I've seen so many people talk about it. I talk about it a lot, sometimes. Um, and there have been multiple attempts trying to quantify the strength of topical authority for a website, right? I saw in one of your LinkedIn posts that you talked about the idea of competition scores. Could you expand on that concept a little bit? Because that was really interesting.
Yeah, sure. Topical authority is, I would say, the number one thing you need to care about when you build a blog, a content, etc. And first, you need to understand who your competitors and what is their topical authority, what are their strengths, what they cover, and immediately rank for in Google. And what are your topical authority strengths? Let's say at Aura, we cover, I think there are 5 different topic categories. It's family safety, it's an identity theft, it's credit card fraud, etc., etc. So basically, for me, that was kind of an interesting experiment that I covered like on LinkedIn to run to understand where on which of these topics Google sees us as an authority, because it's been like around a year and a half, even less, since we launched our blog. There are so many topics we covered in our blog, and we grew from almost 0 to a million, to almost million sessions, organic sessions right now. And in this post, I covered our experiment where we tried to understand what topics, in which topic Google counts as an authority. So basically, what I did, I exported all of the keywords where we rank number 1 on Google. Then I divided them into the subtopics, the ones like I previously mentioned, like credit fraud, family safety, etc., etc. And then I checked every single SERP, and I saw where, in which SERPs we beat competitors that have more backlinks and higher DR. And that means the more kind of articles where you rank number 1 with, let's say, 0 links and smaller DR, that means Google sees you as an authority. You can beat those sites that have 100 backlinks and you like 0, 1, 2, 3, and they have 90 plus DR, you have 70 something. That means that in these topics, you can be a leader without making an extra effort. In terms of SEO, you can just create, an epic content piece, and Google will help you rank it immediately, just because they care about the companies and they help companies who are an authority in this niche. So this kind of research experiment helped us to understand, okay, this is the topic where we have a strength, where Google loves us, so we need to double down on this topic. The more articles like on this topic we will be writing, like subtopic, the easier it will be for us to grow in terms of SEO, and the easier it will be for us to attract new audience to our blog. That's it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's very interesting because when we, like, of course, if you're able to identify those themes where Google actually thinks of you as the authority, then you can maybe create a lot of more additional content, and relatively you would have the power to rank sooner compared to other themes, right? Like other topic clusters. So perhaps, you can shift your whole content strategy towards the things that Google thinks of you as an authority in. Um, from a keyword research standpoint, um, back in the old days of SEO, we remember people used to talk about targeting very short tail keywords, right? Like go for as much search volume as possible. Keyword difficulty score should be very less. After a certain time, long tail keywords started to become the new thing, and targeting low search volume and additional, like all of the SEO metrics are now valued very less in that long tail keywords game. Now, I've seen you mention this third and new emerging category of keywords, right? And you gave it a name, conversational keywords. Could you explain what that means?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I think still short tail or just short keywords still exist. They still work, but
Yeah.
let's say at Hunter, our main keywords that bring us the most clients, money, etc. They were email finder, email verifier,
Mm.
email outreach. You see, just like two words, but this
Yeah.
kind of a clear intent the person is looking for an email finder or for email verifier. For products, I think this queries still exist, and especially if you know if the intent is clear, they'll still bring in like a lot of money for the companies. But the landscape is changing, and this emergency of AI, the way people started to search for whatever changed. You know, as earlier, let's say if you are going on vacation to Spain, you would Google what is the best place to visit in Spain. That would be kind of a long tail query, and you will receive a lot of results. But with emergency of AI tool, the person would ask, what is the best place to visit in Spain on a car, if I have two dogs, two kids, and whatever. And you will get a completely different SERP personalized, like based on you. And I think this is how this kind of queries will be changing, because once Google fully implements AI into search, more people will start using it, and the companies will need to like adapt, because you will lose like with your like very short query, like where to go on vacation in Spain versus where you should go, blah blah blah, like, and these variations of the articles for different buyer personas for different people based on their needs. And I think that this is how it will be changing, like more targeted, more personalized content will be created, because it will be more personalized searches, and more kind of even more long tail searches will appear soon. But still, a different type of searches exist, as I mentioned, for the products, for the blog posts. They will not disappear. Just I predict it will be more of this very very precise, very predict searches.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I totally agree. Of course, short tail keywords are still going to be, a major player. There are so many different terms that I still use to find specific softwares. Uh, do you think this emergence of very specific and super long tail, the kind of keywords that you call conversational keywords, is related with the release of tools like ChatGPT and this generative AI in search, or do you think it's just human nature and these keywords are already there and now the technology is catching up? Like, do you see this as an emerging trend, or do you think it was already there? It has always been there.
I believe that it's due to like two reasons. First, Google like becomes smarter in general every year, and comparing like the kind of searches you did 10 years ago and what kind of results you got, they were kind of random, not personalized, etc. And also the searches were not personalized as well. Like I remember my mom, when we got a computer, she was asking like, Google, can you please help me find this? It was kind of a conversational search, but just because some people, like especially like older generation, they kind of trying to get introduced to the search and how to do it. But it's also changing. My mom is now doing just like normal searches, and she can find everything like in seconds, because also Google becomes smarter, and Google understands what people need from Google. Like immediately you can click the first link and you will get what you need. But there's uh, also, like, I think the emergence of AI tools changing it like even faster. So Google development, search engine development, was the development of AI tools. They just help to
Yeah.
grow this amount of conversational searches.
Hmm. So working at Hunter or right, handling big websites where you have a lot of content. I mean, of course, you created the content at the start. Maybe those websites were relatively smaller, but once you're at a stage where you're driving thousands of visitors a month and you have hundreds and thousands of pages, let's say, on the site, do you have like a reoptimization process that you follow? Because for bigger websites, I've noticed that sometimes this normal content decay cycle starts, and although the company is very focused on creating new content, At the same time, old content is decaying and losing traffic. Do you have a process around this to tackle this problem?
Yes, we do a lot of content updates. And speaking about Aura, we have now like more than like 350 articles on our blog in just a bit more than a year. So we produced a lot of content. Not all of this content ranks number one. Obviously, that would be a perfect story if all of the articles you write rank number one. So obviously, we need content updates. The first update we just did like kind of a yearly, like in December, we started to thinking about it. But considering the amount of the content we have, and that most of the content need like refreshes, updates, like the minor ones, like the bigger ones, in this kind of scale, it's difficult to do it once a year. So we talked with the team and we decided that it would be better to do this kind of regular updates. So for now, how it looks like our like content update strategy, we check our rankings like in like we take a look at the rankings every day, but we don't make action because Google is like position 1 today, position 3 tomorrow, to like in 3 days. So we kind of check it on a weekly basis and see if it's something dropping, why it's dropping, if there is like a reason, like critical reason behind it, or there is like an intent change, etc., etc. We'll take a closer look at it and we will do immediate update if it's needed. Let's say if the intent changed, like you will not be able to win the SERP with your current article. But these are kind of like weekly checks. They help us to not to do like this, amount of a huge amount of work like by the end of the year. By the end of the year, we decided we will do just only like some stats refresh, like some probably like 2022 to 2023, etc. But we will be refreshing our content like on a regular basis based on how it's performing on SERPs. And this really helps us to take like number 1, 2, 3 positions like very fast, because we are very flexible and we adapt content based on its performance on SERP on a regular basis.
That makes a lot of sense. So instead of like keeping everything for the end of the year, once a year kind of an audit, you do it on the go, and then you have a smaller list of things that you update at the end of the year once, right? Like annually, for example, statistics or title
Yes.
tags and those kind of things.
Yeah, we don't touch any new content. Let's say we give it 3 months, 2, 3 months depends on the topic, because sometimes just time needed. It will not start ranking like on a day 2. So you have to be patient. But when it comes to a bit older content, you kind of see the trends and you take actions based on this trend.
Right. So with this SEO focused content strategy, right, where your focus is to drive as much search traffic as possible, of course, keeping it relevant and, driving qualified traffic, how do you think thought leadership content can fit in such an SEO focused content strategy? So many marketing leaders these days want to put their company's narrative out, and that kind of content is not always extremely SEO friendly, right? Do you have do you have some opinion on how one can incorporate thought leadership kind of content within an SEO growth strategy?
What do you mean by like a leadership content? What type of content it should be?
I think, for example, when I think of thought leadership content, the most basic forms that comes to my mind are things like the opinion of someone expert from the team or the leadership about something happening in the industry, right? Like, for example, for Flying Cat, maybe it could be me being the head of SEO of the agency, writing about AI or maybe generative AI in search, anything that we want to present our unique point of view around.
Okay, I got the question. So we don't do this at Aura, and we didn't do it at Hunter as well. Uh, let me explain why we don't do it at Aura. Like Uh, in our case, those people who are checking our blog articles are those who want to resolve their problems. Let's say people want to be interested in what are the cybersecurity trends will be like in 5 years. They don't care. They care if someone stole their money, and they want this money back. And they like googling like someone hacked my bank account. What should I do? So and we help with this article, but kind of this is a very bottom of the funnel article that we cover on our blog, and this kind of leadership content. I think it works probably pretty much well, like for agencies, as you mentioned, those who need to show like their expert opinions, some forecasts, etc., etc. But in our case, it just doesn't work. Like same like at Hunter, we didn't do this kind of our reviews and cold outreach like in 10 years because what the
Yeah.
founders and marketers think is that the problem, like how to make a follow-up email convert. So that's the problem, not like what the trend will be, like etc.
Yeah, yeah. Like so they have like a core problem that they're trying to find a solution for, and everything else that sounds fancy and is not on top of their priority list.
Yes, exactly. Just
Mhm.
we don't need it. Probably works for someone, but not for us at this stage.
Right, makes sense. So for bigger websites, there's this, universal kind of an SEO idea that the significance of technical SEO is correlated with the size of the website, right? The more the number of pages that you have, the more significant technical SEO would be as a growth tactic, or maybe as a, as something that you have to take care of. How big of a role technical SEO has played in your experience working at Hunter or Aura, where you've been able to drive a lot of traffic?
Honestly, not a lot, because in both team we work with great developers, and it's not kind of their responsibility that the site is working, and everything is perfect in technical terms. Um, I'm just like checking it on a regular basis if all is well, like on a Google page speed and sites from time to time. If our like blog articles, our pages are loading, it's fast, it's all green, it's nice. Just like to do it from time to time to make sure everything is okay. And also I have this regular website health audit from Ahrefs that sends me updates. I think at this point we are 98 out of 100, so doesn't it's not a big problem. Not having this 2% because there are a lot of kind of false alerts. So it doesn't take a lot of time when you have a good skilled team of developers.
Yeah. And have you thought about this in a way that have you questioned the significance of technical SEO as like it didn't play a big role at Hunter, it didn't play a big role at Aura? Have you ever thought maybe it's not such an important or such a significant aspect of this whole SEO playground that we're in? Or do you think it's just that at these companies you were able to take care of it really good that you didn't have to worry about it?
It's definitely a very important part of SEO. It's the basic, it's fundamentals. If your technicals are not working, not set up, anything else won't be working. If you don't have, I don't know, mobile version of a website, I don't know, you will not win this game. You will not be able to compete. If your website is slow and people need to wait, they will just click other link which is like faster to load. I would provide you an example. So recently I launched my own affiliate website. Uh, I think it's been live like for 4 months now, like not so much time. But I really invested a lot of time on making it fast. It's built fully on like a webflow, and the key task for a developer was I want it to fly. I want it to be super responsive, like mobile friendly, etc., etc. I don't honestly. I have not so much work. When I started this website, I had like more time, but now in 4 months, I don't really take care like as much as I wanted. But it's growing without like backlinks, anything. Like I publish like some content from time to time, just because this website is super fast. The technicals are very good. I think it's like 100 out of 100 on href. It really helps. I believe if it would be like a bad website with zero backlinks with some content, it wouldn't be able to hit the number one page with this bottom of the funnel, reviews terms. But it works and it proves that technicals are very important.
Yeah, sounds like it is the foundation where, like, on top of it, you then add like the content layer and then the links and everything else. But you have to make sure that everything at the basics is done right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh, Sounds good. So let's move into link building now. You
All
you
right.
have a lot of expertise in link building. That is like one area where you've done a lot of work. You've built successful link acquisition engines for both Hunter as well as Aura. When do you think it makes sense for companies to start investing in link building? Is there a point where they can say, okay, now this is a point where link building would start making sense for us as a growth tactic? Because like at the start, one could argue that there isn't enough content to point those into those backlinks to. So what determines when should link building be initiated as a growth tactic in your opinion?
In my opinion, from day one, even if you don't have a marketing SEO team, you can easily outsource link building. If you have one page, you obviously already have a domain and you already start building that authority from day one. Like you will not be able, let's say you decided to build a website, do some other stuff, and then in a year launch a blog. It will be much easier to rank your articles like when you have a decent backlink profile already, like some like decent website linking to your homepage, etc., than starting from scratch with a blog. So you need to do it like as soon as possible. And link building is something that can be easily outsourced. There are so many good professionals out there who can just like you give a target, like I need this page and I need backlink from this type of website. That's it. You don't have to waste time. Like the more time you waste, like the harder competition will be in the future. So it's very important to do it very fast.
So would you say, for example, if a company, even if they don't have like tons of blog content or a lot of landing pages, let's say, still you would say even if they start investing in link building at that point, since they would be strengthening their overall domain, that would still be a good investment for that time. Like if they can afford to, of course.
Yes, this is what we did at Aura. I actually joined the company at the time when the blog was launched. I think I joined like 1 month or 2 months after the blog was launched. But before there were no blog, it was a homepage and some product pages. And the first thing like the uh, CMO did, they found a link builder, they outsourced this work, and this link builder was building links from huge like DR90 websites to the homepage. And I'm sure that helped us to grow blog very fast because it's not easy in this kind of populated niche to grow your blog like from almost 0 to 1 million in a year. That
Mm,
that won't be possible with a zero DR website. So at that
mm,
point, this kind of links and the domain was also good. It was like for a few years, like without backlinks, but still it has some authority. When I joined, like the DR was around 70, so that was a good start. It was not zero, but
yeah.
it gave a good boost.
Mm. So when it comes to link building outreach, I've seen you talk about how in the past you used to use the same link building outreach template and send it to hundreds of prospects and get a 10 to 20% response rate. And now you've started talking about how you add like an extreme level of customization in your emails, and your response rate has skyrocketed to like 80-90% sometimes because you put so much time into it. uh, Talk me through the difference in your before and after approaches to link building outreach.
So before, I would say, like in the very, very early ages, when everyone was using skyscraper technique, and when it worked, I also used
Yeah,
the skyscraper technique. You know, everyone was
yeah,
doing like in
yeah.
SEO.
Skyscraper was like the super popular technique that you everyone can use, and it was just the thing at the time.
Yeah, if you are like in SEO like for more than 5 years, you definitely use the skyscraper. And
Yeah,
at some point, like SEO and building outreach, they weren't super popular. Editors' inboxes were not like super full. You were able to reach out to like a great like direct website, say, hey, I stumbled upon your article and I want my and like article be placed under this anchor. They would say, oh yes, cool article, I would do that. But now the rules of the game changed. You won't be able to reach out to, I don't know, like HubSpot saying, I stumbled upon your article, please give me a link. That won't work. You need to find a different approach because the editor's inboxes are full. No one will be giving you backlink just because you are cool and nice and your article is good. So you kind of need to build relationships. And I believe in link building, relationships now are super important. Without it, you won't be able to be a good link builder. You won't be able to uh, be published on these big websites with cool metrics. You need to build relationships with editors, with uh, other like link partners, etc., etc. And that's why, based on the market, based on how the market is changing, I changed my approach because something old, the generic, link building outreach emails, they are not working. You need now to write customer mails to one person. Sometimes I spend like 30 minutes to write that email, but I know if the person is correct, the email is correct, that 80-90% of the cases it will convert because you've put effort into research and you've put effort into your email.
so it sounds like all of the emails starting with hi admin or hi webmaster, those kind of things are just out of the trend now. They're not going to work.
Yeah, the problem is they are working. I don't know if your target is getting links from DR20 websites. Good luck. But
Hmm.
if you want links like from uh, huge websites like Forbes, Entrepreneur, I
Yeah,
don't know, Shopify, no, you will not be able to do it. Just like don't waste time. Don't send this email. So it also depends on the wealth. There are
yeah,
20 websites. Probably they will offer you $50 per link. So whatever.
yeah.
You can pay, but I don't recommend doing it. So it depends.
Yeah, and how do you still scale the process even if you have a lot of customization in it? So, like, I'm just thinking, if one person is spending a lot of time customizing their email template, so it resonates and they're trying to build a relationship, is there still a way to do it on a bigger scale, or is it
On
never
a,
meant to be scaled?
I don't scale this one. Like, when you build a lot of relationship in a niche, then you don't have to put a lot of efforts into building links because you can just reach out to this person and say, hey, can you help me with this link? And it takes you 2 minutes to get it. And hey, it's live. So this is kind of a scale. First, you put a lot of efforts into building relationships. Then you get like easy links because these people trust you. So this is how it works. And I believe there is no way to automate like relationship building. You just need to be you, like real person. But if you start automating some part of it, people are not stupid. They don't notice it.
Yeah, no, this makes a lot of sense, and I think I totally love that the explanation that you attach to it, which is that if you spend a lot of time upfront building the relationship, then the rest of the process basically speeds up. And on the other hand, if you're just like mass emailing to thousands of people with the same email template, like, of course, for maybe 30, 60 days, you would still be debating about the same link placement maybe. So like it's always a better idea to go towards that relationship side of things for building your links. And process wise, I imagine that you run your link building operations with SOPs and guidelines for your team. If you could give us a highlight, what is the process for building links, as in deciding which pages to build links to? Is it that you specify the number of links for every page, or you keep building it until a specific ranking is achieved? What is your thought process that you look at, for example, deciding the number of links that you want to build and everything?
So yeah, we have a process. It's not a written SOP, but this is something that the whole team understands and kind of sticks to. So every month we are updating our link priorities. Usually we don't send more than 10 priorities for our website, because we are in a competitive niche, and usually we are building links to these both keywords, and it's not enough to build 1-2 links. You need dozens to those pages we are building links to. And that's why we keep it's small, like 10. We are not building to 100 pages at the same time, because it will be not effective. And by the end of the month, we are changing these priorities. We review if, let's say, we have 10 pages in our targets and 2 or 3 pages already reached their goals, we remove these 2. And then we add new 2 pages to our link building list. Besides, we review also those 8. If, let's say, they didn't reach the necessary amount of backlink goal, because you can see more or less how many competitors have, we keep building. But if, let's say, they reached the goal and they are still not ranking, and you think as a content team, what kind of it's not the problem with the backlinks, it's a problem with the content that it's not performing. So in this case, we're also removing it from our link building priorities and work on a content side. So this is the first thing. A second thing, I didn't mention that we only build links to the kind of profitable pages. So those that will generate the highest ROI potentially. We have a team of link builders, contractors, outsourcers. I share this list with them, and they start building these links. All of the contractors, link builders, they have requirements on what kind of links we expect to get. We don't work with links that are low with the DRs and lower than 70. We also don't work with the websites that have poor search traffic. And say we don't work with the websites that have less than 10,000 organic sessions per month. We also aim to keep topical relevancy, meaning if ideally the website should be related to tech, cybersecurity, etc. In many cases, great websites, they don't cover all the time these topics, but they can have some articles, related to cybersecurity or security in general, family safety. We do work with this website. This has a general kind of guidelines, and by the end of the month, I review what our link builders did. I review their work. Since we work with these people for a long time, I trust most of them. They deliver good work. It doesn't take insane amount of time to review those links. That's it. It's in short.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a couple of companies coming to the opinion that manual link building or link building done through email outreach of some sort isn't the best investment of time and resources. And there should be a natural way of consistently attracting links. For example, one company that comes to my mind is SiegeMedia, right? They stopped doing manual link building, and I think they in fact did this whole webinar with ClearScope explaining the reasoning behind this. And from what I understand, their approach has been to create linkable assets like top of the funnel content or something else that could help them eliminate the manual link building completely. Um, do you agree with that notion?
I agree that it works for some businesses, but again, it doesn't work for us. It works. We cannot. It doesn't make sense for us to create stats pages, because I know SiegeMedia, they have really nice this kind of content marketing trends. It's relevant to their audience, it's relevant to their clients because they want to know what's happening in the content marketing. But as I mentioned, for our audience, it's not relevant. So I don't see like, sense creating those kind of pages, like just like to get links. And I'm not sure in our industry it's gonna work. At the same time, you know, uh, these pages that have like very big competition, let's say, like those best identity theft protection solutions, that you won't be able to rank for the term that there are 90 websites are ranking with hundreds, 200, 300, 500 of backlink per page. Just build links to a stats page. That won't work for us because the competition is insanely high. And what all of the competitors doing, they are building links to their pages. Like somehow, like as SiegeMedia does, it passes the authority to your blog, but these links are not that strong as the links built to that specific page. So that's why we are not doing it.
Right. So you think there are some industries where manual link building is like the only option that you have if you have to hit specific growth numbers?
I would say like in most of the industries,
Mm.
because especially if you are new, you will not be able to stand out. How, like, let's say there are 10 websites. You start writing articles like with linkable assets, but how, like, even people who research will find you if you are on like 100 positions something. You need to start building links to kind of uh, start ranking number 1, 2, 3, because without backlinks they will not even notice your linkable assets. You can probably start doing like some digital PR, like sharing it like through email lists, through Twitter. Actually, this is what SiegeMedia does very well. So they have like an email newsletter and they share these case studies through different channels. We cannot do it. We cannot, share like as people like what to do if your Google account was hacked, because this is only relevant to the person whose account was hacked. But SiegeMedia
Yeah,
articles, they are like kind of more evergreen, relevant to everyone from their audience.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Sounds good. So I think we're almost at the final end of the podcast episode, and I want to talk about performance management and the way you measure performance, the way you look at the KPIs when you're leading growth from an SEO standpoint. So again, back in your days at Hunter versus now at Aura, what are the KPIs that you care about the most, as in relate that can be attributed to SEO success, and how do you look at attribution specifically, within this whole attribution mirage that we're into these days, where it's hard to track SEO success back to your effort exactly using CRM information.
Honestly, I don't like very complex system tracking, the performance and stuff. We get everything simple. And I think my goal in the future would be to do the same system as Ahrefs has, like zero tracking, just create great content. Your audience will find you. So, these guys, they don't have good analytics. They don't have like these pixels like on Facebook. They don't have any tracking stuff. They are just focusing on creating the best content possible and growing their website. For me, that's ideal. They don't create 100 complicated reports and stuff, but still they are kind of simple at these terms. And our like key metrics is the traffic growth and also like the associated conversion growth. We use Google Analytics to see the associated conversions report, and we also can see the direct conversions coming from the organic traffic. That's enough to prove that SEO and our blog content is working, and it's bringing more and more money to the company on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, like, of course, like, even if you look at the B2C industry, right, like maybe if we go back when we were not in this digital era, um, of course B2C companies would just like run ads on TV, for example, advertisements or commercials, and then they would just like try to correlate it with sales, right? Like there would be no marketing attribution and that kind of things, and it worked fine for them. So I can agree with that notion. And from the perspective of, like, you know this, right? Like in the B2B SaaS industry, we see this emerging trend of saying SEO is just going to die eventually, and people have changed their conversion journey from search first to now communities first, and now dark social is supposed to be a thing. Do you see SEO losing its value anytime soon in the B2B marketing world, especially with all of the things happening with AI these days and dark social becoming more and more popular?
Yeah, I completely disagree with the statement when people say SEO is dead. I heard it like 10 years ago. I hear it like 5 years ago. SEO is dying like every year, but for some reason it's still alive. So I think,
Fortunately.
yeah, I think SEO will be changing and changing a lot with with the AI tools development and stuff. But it still will be there as long as search engines exist. Because SEO is stuff like for search engine optimization. I think Google is the company that still will be here like for many years. It's still making like more and more money, every year. So there is zero signs that search engines will disappear. They will start implementing new technologies. They will start implementing new algorithms. You will need to adapt. You will need to change like the way how you do SEO. But I don't think it will disappear in the nearest like 10 years, at least. So we are good.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Irina, for taking out the time for this. I totally loved our conversation. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks again for inviting. That was really nice conversation as well. And yeah, hope we
Yeah.
will have a chance to talk with you again about different topics related or not related to SEO and content marketing.
Yeah. Where can people find you? How they can connect with you? What is the best way to connect with you?
On LinkedIn, Irina Maltseva, I'm there. So feel free to reach out to me in case you have any questions or whatever. I'm always happy to help. Probably I'm not answering super fast, but within a few days, I usually give an answer.
That's understandable. Well, thank you so much again, and have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.